Hello guys, good day. This is Anne of Reinforce Me Club. Today we are going to talk about stubborn fats. Now, what is a stubborn fat? A stubborn fat is a combination of visceral and adipose tissue. So when you say visceral fats, these are fats which are located under the abdominal cavity, which surrounds the liver, the stomach, and intestines. And when you say adipose tissue, this is the subcutaneous tissue which extends throughout the body and makes you look chubby. Now, why is it a problem? Why is a stubborn fat a problem? Now, this is how it goes. There are some people who are quite conscious about their body image, and they did all sorts of exercise, diet, and weight loss training, but these fats tend to be resistant to it. You know why? You know why? One of the main reason those stubborn fat kind of really hard to take it off, to lose it. It's because these are visceral fats. When you say visceral fats, they influence the body. They tend to release hormones and substances which, alters the utilization of insulin and makes the liver release more cholesterol. That's why when you have more visceral fats, you are prone to many different sorts of cardiovascular diseases. Now let's go down to the causes of these stubborn fats. So number one is genes. Genes tend to determine where and how the body stores fat, just like the FTO genes, which makes a person likely to store fats in the abdominal area, just in the belly. And also there are genes which influences the distribution and the storage and the breakdown of fats in the body, which makes the person prone to obesity. Now the second cause of stubborn fat is the so-called hormonal influence. For example, when a person is really stressed, there is an increased release of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which makes the person increase his appetite, but decrease metabolism. And because of stress, there is also an increased release of insulin for energy. And of course, insulin helps the regulation of sugar in the body. So when a person tends to eat a lot, like stress eating, and then there you go, there's hyperglycemia, insulin tends to store this excess glucose in the liver in the form of glycogen and in the muscle and fat cells, which eventually become an adipose fat. And then it normalizes. After those several processes inside the involuntary processes in the body, and there you go, you got some fat storage in the under the belly and in the liver and the fat tissues, which can be used in case of emergency. Now that's insulin and cortisol. Now we're going to tackle the so-called estrogen in women, which influence the stubborn fat storage again. So for women, when they tend to decrease, when their body decrease the release of the so-called estrogen, might as well be due to stress, or when they reach the menopausal phase, decreased estrogen it makes the body store fats in the abdominal cavity, not in the thighs and of course in the waist, which makes women tend to look more feminine because of estrogen. And another cause of this so-called stubborn fat is the sedentary lifestyle and poor diet. Less activity at work, in the office, sitting and eating. Anything that makes a person tends to have low physical activity, that's a sedentary lifestyle. And even playing online games, eating the entire day, that's sedentary lifestyle. And increased intake of refined carbohydrates, sugars, calories, too much calories, and processed foods. So where would the insulin and other hormones tend to store that? Of course, just under the belly, waist, and hips, and sometimes just here, just in the arms. Another thing that influences the storage of stubborn fat is age. So for women, menopausal stage, and for both sexes in general. So when people tend to age, when people age like 30s and above, 40s, 50s, 60s, this is quite much obvious now. They tend to have poor endurance, and as a result to that, they have decreased physical activity, and they're prone to sedentary lifestyle and less energy. So they're much careful about the prevention, more on prevention of injury, because of course it's hard for old people to recover if they get injured compared to young people. Another thing that influenced this stubborn fat is the stress. When a person is stressed, they tend to eat much or eat less. Plus, they're going to have hormonal imbalance and lack of sleep. And as a result of that, with all of these things going on in the body in response to stress, it affects the regulation and distribution of fats in the body. And lastly, because of poor sleep pattern, people tend to weight gain. When you have poor sleep pattern, your appetite tends to increase because you're stressed about it. And sometimes you're going to have weight gain or weight loss because of lack of sleep. And it affects your metabolism. And as a result of that, the fat storage are in the belly again, or hips, thighs, waist, or arms. So where can you usually see these stubborn fats? So number one, just in the abdominal cavity. You can also see them in the hips and thighs, waist, and the upper arms. Now, let's get to the management of stubborn fat. There are all different sorts of medical management of the stubborn fat, as long as you have money, and you're gonna attain it, like fat freezing, fat cavitation, lymphatic drainage, fat dissolver injections, which is much common, liposuction, anything cosmetic and elective. Plus, if you have money, then you can attain it. And the best part, we also have the economical intervention, or the natural way. It's this is more of like a changing lifestyle. And other than it's economical and natural, this is also sustainable in the long run. So these are regular exercise, healthy diet with the guidance of your dietitian, and lifestyle modification if you have bad habits to really cut off. It's kind of a hard way, but it helps you accept yourself, plus manage and reduce the so-called stubborn fats. It is called the hard way because it involves discipline and commitment for a new and a healthy lifestyle. That's all for today. Thank you very much. This is Anne of Reinforce Me, telling you, live, learn, repeat until you make it. Have a lovely day. Thank you very much for your time.